Hello, it's another beautiful day in Hualien. I must admit that I always have and remain completely and totally underwhelmed by details. In Hawaiian, we say manini. Manini means small or of little import. And this is how I feel about most details. Minutia of details. Minutia with an E, which is plural form. A myriad of facts. As many as there are stars in the sky or grains of sand on the beach and blah, 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 blah. History has always intrigued me. Really, really interested. Always have been. But the approach of dates and names has never been of any import to me whatsoever. I like to look at trends. I like to look at eras. I like to look at what propels humankind from one paradigm to the next. Cause and effect, I think. Cause and effect. Instead of details, I am, and I always have been, a fan of big, bold, inclusive statements, even if they border on hyperbole. I admit to a sense of awe at the very grandeur they suggest. This was the third day in a row I mentioned Stephen Hawking's theory of everything. And talk about a thinking being, talking about concepts that stretch the mind. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, waiting to hear this, to experience this theory in its full glory. As you can see, I've never cared much for small thinking. Thinking big. Thinking big has always been my credo. It seems that it sets my mind free. On the other hand, the details only serve to make one wrong. You got this or that wrong. But fortunately for me, being wrong is a little accord, as I've never been heavily vested in being correct. But let's leave the details to those anal retentive souls whose proclivity allows them to entertain them. I remember once being told by a counselor that I was the least anal retentive person that he ever met. And to this day, I think I could not have gotten a greater compliment, although I'm not sure of his intent when he shared it with me. Probably didn't think I would take it as a compliment. But I think for me, leaving the details behind. I've mentioned before in an earlier video called 1, 2, 3. Give me 3 details, 3 directions, 3 of anything, and I'm done. That's enough. I can't entertain more than 3 things at the same time. Needless to say, my multitasking skills are greatly suspect. But somehow setting down the need for details, putting that aside, has left me room to grow, room to dream. And dreams serve me best when they simplify, make things easier for me, make things clearer for me, make things easier to express, make things easier to share my vision. Dreams have long been my dearest and best friends. And as I sit here peering into the screen of my iMac, I know that nothing that I'm doing today would be possible or even imaginable without following my dreams. Grand vision, sweeping landscapes, ultimately reduction of complicated, convoluted thought patterns into easily digestible, bite-sized expressions. I've always been well aware of how much energy I do or don't have in a given moment of time. And for me, the personal beauty, the rewards of dreaming is that it ratchets up my energy levels. I've never really been a high energy being. But dreaming, thinking big, leads to living large, which will ratchet up the intensity and the stamina of my limited resources of energy. Nothing will bring me down, slow me down to barely moving, barely breathing is an influx of details. Tune out stop listening. Yeah, because I really know. I'm really aware. I live with my own limitations. And I'd like to share that this is important to understand not only one's resources, one's abilities, but perhaps even more importantly, to fully understand, acknowledge, recognize our limitations. Because at least in my tally sheet, limitations are a lot longer than abilities. If you weigh the plus and minuses, if you see liabilities as minus, my list is quite long. Limitations. Certainly I've learned to live with them, to adapt with them. But I'm not adverse to finding a way to circumvent them, even if temporarily. And dreaming, thinking big, is one avenue that I know that will lead me to have more enthusiasm, which directly translates into energy, doesn't it? If you're enthusiastic about something, there's more energy seems to be available. The flip side of that is the lethargy that comes with facing tasks, being exposed, living with things that enhance your liabilities, enhance your shortcomings. So details limit me in extreme measures to the point of dismissal on my part. But wherever there's a void, the nature of the universe tends to fill that void with something. And for me, it's vision. And a way for me to share my vision, to make it simple so that as many people as possible can entertain it, maybe even evaluate, is to make sweeping generalizations. Ignoring, for the most part, facts. Looking for commonalities is what I'm trying to say. Searching for similarities. Searching for some kind of order in a chaotic life. Looking for some respite, some safe resting place. The idea of a room with a view, a place to feel safe in, a place to protect yourself, a place that nurtures dreaming, encourages big vision. And nothing is important enough for me to get in the way of these visions, these dreams. When I talk to people, when I'm sharing my ideas, I admit to getting swept away into my generalizations. And the purpose of my generalizations is not to pigeonhole, not to limit. And that's how some of my critics react. Well, you're reducing this to the lowest common denominator. And really, honestly, part of me says, so what? Okay, when the bar is not set that high anyway, what difference does it make if there's some limitations? Is that more important than the point? For me, obviously, it's not. So that's the resistance I get, is that generalizing reduces. But perhaps if we were good at generalizations, couldn't the opposite be true? Could we set the bar higher? My expectations for myself and those around me were very, very high, despite my experience to the contrary. People do tend to reduce themselves to the lowest common denominator, especially in group or mass behavior. The individual could be beautiful, but the masses are almost always something else. Scary, limiting, dangerous comes to mind. So generalizations, the way that I use them is trying to fit my expectations, not my experience. I will continue to promote, to hold on to keep lofty goals for me and for you, with the assurances that, given enough time, my seemingly lofty goals will come to pass. Because we're all in this together. We all benefit from each one that can step out of the morass of chaos into the light, into order, into recognition of what is. This is what I hold most dear. But this time, this day will come. I'm not sure. I don't really entertain, that's a detail again. I don't really entertain the details of what a world would be like if all of us remembered who and what we've always been. If we can see the Maya, the illusions of the false constructs that we've managed to slap together to serve the purpose of separation, division, nurturing the ego. The ego thrives on all the things that are not so. Yeah, it's in that arena. It knows nothing else. The ego will never be capable of knowing what's so, what is. Thinking large, having a vision, even if it means that at times you kind of lump things together, and even to the point of ignoring facts that might get in the way of your point. Words are one of our few tools. Other than just being, we have few ways to offer advice, encouragement, support. Those have to all come through words. But the very nature of words are hollow, aren't they? They're just sounds without meaning. But as a great teacher should do, they can help point the way. They can help narrow, misguided efforts. But words we know, as I've expressed, we're really aware of their limitations. But sharing dreams, sharing visions, seem to give the words more meat, put a little more meat on the bones of the hollowness of words. Because people can buy into dreams. It's on the emotive level. It touches you at different, in different manners. So we started out with being underwhelmed by details. Most people are overwhelmed by complexities. I'm underwhelmed. No matter how complex, no matter how many complexities that you share with me, you'll never get me to buy into the narrowness and the limitedness that such complexities imply, such complexities embrace. All of us that have opportunity, I think. I come from an academic background and I've been to a lot of seminars. And I'm immediately impressed by an expert in a field, especially a field that I'm not very familiar with, who can talk to me on my terms, who's understandable to me. I embrace them as a great communicator, as a great intellect. What makes people smart, as far as I'm concerned, is how they can share the knowledge that they do have. And then there's the other ones that make it totally inaccessible. The linguistic purists, the ones who develop a language that is intended to exclude the nomenclature, the talk of the trade, if you will. So that if you're talking to astrologers, astronomers, sorry, if you're talking to astrologers, you're able to either only communicate to a small group of individuals, or to share the wisdom and the grandeur of what you know. The lesser minds are incapable of doing this. They need to identify, I'm an astronomer, I'm a quantum physicist. Yeah, good for you. Doesn't really impress me much more than a plumber. And infinitely not as important. Give me a garbage man any day. To a man or woman who is so hell-bent on distancing, on putting a barrier, building a barrier of misunderstanding through exclusivity. I'd rather listen to a plumber who told me how to fix my pipes than otherwise well-intentioned physicist that wants to hide behind his barrage of inaccessible code talk of the trades. No different blue collar, white collar. The hallmark of a small mind is trying to prove. Speaking of small minds, makes me think of our unfortunate for all of us, American president, insisting that he's a genius. He knows more than any of the experts about everything. So maybe Mr. Trump, might I suggest that you continue with Stephen Hawking's theory of everything? His work is unfinished, so maybe, Mr. Trump, maybe your time, instead of screwing up America, instead of setting us back, perhaps you can go use that genius in a more constructive way. And maybe we could leave it up to you to complete Hawking's work of the theory of everything. Just a thought. But in that spirit, in that mean-spirited, intensity of the Trump, the man, lies so many of the shortcomings of humankind. It's amazing that one person can encapsulate so much of what's wrong with people. But I want to go the other way. Share your dreams. Dream big. What do you got to lose? Celebrate. Appreciate. espouse, promote big ideas. World peace. How's that for a place to start? In fact, I might reconsider. I might not waste Donald Trump's genius on the theory of everything. Let's give him world peace. Let's designate him as the bright light that will lead us into a peaceful existence. See what I mean by dreaming large? What bigger dream could I share with you than the dream that President Trump would overcome, not my president, Mr. Trump could overcome his many shortcomings and grow into a man of vision. He's in a position, much better position than you or I, to do such work. If only he had the inclination. But I suspect that it's not in the realm of possibility that he could even entertain the constructive, productive options that he has as the leader of the free world. So there you go. I'm dreaming big. If Trump doesn't turn out to be the man to lead us to world peace, it's my dream, it's my vision that someone who follows him in this really unique, privileged position, someone who follows him, they could be like the Dalai Lama, could be like that Nistin. I probably butchered his name, sorry. The Vietnamese monk that I respect so much. Why couldn't they be in a position where they could be a beacon and they could have the power and the audience to lead us out of the darkness, to lead us into the light? So, as you see, I'll never stop dreaming big.